Today on the Big 3 and 30, Purdue beats Texas in the final seconds.
One of the greatest NCAA tournament games I've ever seen from a Purdue fan perspective.
Iowa comes back to beat rival Nebraska.
I am just incredibly excited. The Iowa Hawkeyes are in the Elite Eight.
And Illinois' defense leads a win over Houston.
I don't think I've ever been so proud of being an Illini than I am right now.
This is the Big 3 and 30 College, the three biggest stories on campus from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 and 30 College starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 and 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Purdue hopes to make its second Final Four in 3 years this weekend and took a scary first step by just barely beating Texas in the final seconds yesterday. Trey Kaufman-Renn tipped in the game winner for Purdue, and Nick Garvin recaps the thriller on Locked On Boilermakers.
Last night was one of the greatest NCAA tournament games I've ever seen from a Purdue fan perspective. It was a little bit too close for call, but at the end, when it matters, 0.7 seconds left on the clock, Trey Kaufman-Renn tips in a Miss Braden Smith layup to win the game against Texas, sending Purdue straight to Saturday in San Jose for the Elite Eight. So we're going to talk about that fantastic finish on today's episode. Then we're going to get into survive and advance, how Purdue was able to do that, why they didn't play the perfect game, but they were still able to survive and advance to Saturday in the Elite Eight. Then we'll get into Purdue's Elite Eight matchup in San Jose. It's Arizona. The 1 seed, it is Purdue. The 2 seed, this is the first time Purdue has not been favored in the NCAA tournament. So can they pull the upset in the Elite Eight? That's what we're going to finish off talking about in today's episode. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we're driven by the details. Highlights make the real, but the work behind them makes it count. Stay tuned for this week's Mazda's moving the game forward. The all-new Mazda CX-5, more to move every side of you. Man, oh man, oh man. Was yesterday's game against Texas a crazy one? There were points in that game where I thought Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Trey Kaufman-Renn, and I had an Oscar Clough at that point too. I thought that their collegiate careers would be over. I was genuinely scared there, especially. So we have a 3 there at the 5-minute mark. Purdue goes down by 4, and I'm sitting there thinking, and let's talk about Tremont Mark here for a second, who Fletcher Lawyer, he gets under his foot. He's limping up and down the court the whole time, almost ends with 30 points. Credit to Texas for the way that they've played in the NCAA tournament and the fight that they showed Purdue yesterday. They gave the Boilermakers everything they could handle. So you have that shot to go up by 4, but Purdue, they keep pushing. They keep pushing. Trey Kaufman-Renn continues to convert down low, get high-quality looks. Oscar Clough gets back on the floor with 4 fouls and is able to produce at a solid level. Braden Smith had a much better second half. And, of course, Fletcher Lawyer had all of Purdue's threes in this game, which is something we're going to talk about. That's the big thing for me. But Purdue continues to fight back. They gain a 3-point lead. Foul Matas Vokataitis down low to make him shoot free throws. Somehow, the 7-foot Lithuanian who shoots it from the charity stripe only about 60%. He makes it both to get the lead down to 1. On the other side, Braden Smith, I believe, made both of his free throws to get it back up to 3 points. But then Texas, they cook up some magic going down the other way. Dalen Swain, he gets inside to the basket, and one of the worst foul calls I think I've ever seen. I didn't think it was a foul at all. The officiating was completely questionable in this game, but Dalen Swain, he goes up for a layup. Oscar Clough gets called for a foul. Not only does Texas tie the game with just over 10 seconds left, but Oscar Clough fouls out of the game. So now you're left saying, if this one does go to overtime, if you're not able to get a shot in the last 10 seconds, well, Texas still has Matas Vokataitis on the floor, who does have 4 fouls, but you'd rather him be on the floor with 4 fouls than not have Oscar Clough at all, who fouled out. So I wasn't confident about this team about 3 or 4 periods in the second half, especially when that gets tied up and you don't have Oscar Clough anymore. So it was so important right there for Purdue to succeed in finding that last second shot. They had a chance to win it with 10 seconds left. And I feel like everyone in the gym in San Jose knew it. I think everyone on Texas knew it. Obviously, everyone for Purdue knew it, but exactly who was going to take that last second shot? It was going to be Braden Smith. He's been the guy for this program for 4 years. He's been the one that you want taking that shot, and I don't blame it. Sean Miller, he takes Matas Vokatitis off of the floor, which was a little bit questionable in retrospect when you see what happens, but it allowed for Braden Smith to get inside. And he did get inside. He got to the right side of the basket, shot a little, it was like a layup, but like a mid-range, just try to put it up on the glass and hope that something went in. It didn't go in, but in a twist of fate and one of the greatest shots that will go down in Purdue history, Trey Kaufman-Renn with 0.7 seconds left on the clock, goes up, tips it in, puts the Boilermakers up by 2, and by then it was wraps. Purdue is advancing to the Elite Eight. Man, oh man, it was an insane game, one that I don't think Purdue necessarily should have won. Like I said, the refs, the officiating, it was really questionable. You've got that phantom foul there at the end that fouls out Oscar Clough, but you also got possession where the ball clearly went off of Texas. It goes out of bounds, and then they say it's Texas's ball because there was a shot clock violation, but there was clearly still time on the clock. Both ways, the officiating was really questionable. But I'm not going to stick on the refs. If you're complaining about the refs, you were not going to win that game either way. That's an ideology that I have. Purdue shouldn't have won this game necessarily because they weren't able to make anything from 3. Fletcher Loyer makes 4 threes, and that's all that Purdue was able to find the entire game. Talk about finding a way to win, having almost no success from outside of the perimeter, but still getting it done. On one hand, it makes me a little bit concerned about how Purdue is going to play on Saturday because you're going to have to make those threes, and shooting 50% in back-to-back games going into this one and then shooting it at 20%. It's quite the difference from where Purdue's been. So on one hand, I'm a little bit concerned about that. But on the other hand, I'm sitting here saying this Purdue team was able to beat one of the hottest teams in the tournament in a game where only one of your players was able to convert from 3. That's something that really sticks out to me. And this one, obviously, the seniors had great performances. That's why Purdue was able to win this one. But this game will go down as the Trey Kaufman-Renn game. This will be the one that immortalizes Trey Kaufman-Renn in March Madness history. 20 points in 36 minutes, 8 of 10, 8 rebounds, only turns it over once, 4 on the offensive glass. Trey Kaufman-Renn won this game for Purdue, much like he's done 5 years in West Lafayette. He has won game after game for this team, and I don't think there was a more important one to win for TKR than in this moment, Thursday night, Sweet 16 in San Jose, where he had the performance of his life. Purdue won this game with only 4 points off the bench. They won this game with only 4 3-pointers made, all of which from Fletcher Loyer. Purdue handled all the adversity in this game, but still came away victorious. The Purdue Boilermakers are advancing to the Elite Eight in one of the best March Madness games I've ever seen. This is one that's going to go down in Purdue history. It was too close. It was closer than a lot of Purdue fans out there would have wanted it to be, but what a game to get the Sweet 16 started out, and we're not done yet.
This is Moving the Game Forward by Mazda. For those who know, the score never tells the whole story. Today's Moving the Game Forward moment goes to Trey Kaufman-Renn of the Purdue Boilermakers. He got the game-winning tip-in off a rebound in the Sweet 16 against Texas to get Purdue back to the Elite Eight. They'll go for their second Final Four in 3 seasons on Saturday. There's more to these players than the highlights. The early mornings, late night runs, constantly showing up for their squad on and off the court. The all-new Mazda CX-5 moves the same way, with more space to connect, a bold new design, and more intuitive technology, so you can stay connected to the road and every position you play. The all-new Mazda CX-5, more to move every side of you. The tournament is here, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets, it's non-stop action from tip to final cutdown. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's how it works. You can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every single day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want. Games, futures, or same-game parlays for even bigger payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new. Different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Welcome back to the Big 3-30 College. Iowa didn't lead against Nebraska until there were only 2 minutes to play last night, but you only have to be up at the end. And the Hawkeyes pulled off a win over the Cornhuskers to move on to the Elite Eight. Trent Condon goes over that win on Locked On Hawkeyes.
Well, we know the matchup in the Elite Eight. Yes, I am not drunk. I am just incredibly excited. The Iowa Hawkeyes are in the Elite Eight. Here we are once again as Iowa will face off against old rival Illinois to go to the Final Four. An Elite Eight matchup for the first time since 1987. I've talked about that game plenty. If you've been following us and are everydayers here, or if you listen to me on the radio for the past almost 25 years now, it's a story that I relive a ton. It is one of my earliest memories of basketball and just a full game experience. I was 6. My son is 6, and we've been having fun with that throughout the course of this one. 1980, the last Final Four. I was just about born. Yeah, I was still inside my mom. Weird to say. Almost feel like I should restart things, but we're not because we're ecstatic. We're elated. I just absolutely can't believe this. And the worst thing about this medium is you can't be at a loss for words, but there are so many parts of this that I'm at a loss for words. And this is emotional. And there's parts of this industry, there's parts of this business, there are parts of what I do on a daily basis that you do become a little bit calloused. You do hear the things that probably annoy most people out there when you hear sports talkers, people in the radio industry, people that do podcasts, and you lose your fandom. And I never want to have that happen to me. And for people that know me know how important Iowa basketball is and how it is my first love. It's what made me the sport fan that I am, basketball fan that I am. It is because of the Iowa basketball team. And it's the 3 guys behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, that you see seemingly every program with BJ Armstrong and Roy Marble and Ed Horton, that group. That was the group that made me an Iowa basketball fan and made me love Iowa basketball. And now as a guy in his mid-40s and still a guy that freaks out and paces around, and my kids laugh at me and my wife rolls her eyes. But that's what Iowa basketball does. And as we talked about yesterday, the 27-year drought between Sweet 16s and all the lows that came along with it. There were some highs, definitely some positives, but for a program and what it was and its importance. And I know the older listeners out there, you definitely know about that importance. And for young people, I don't think you can really grasp what Iowa Hawkeye basketball meant in the state of Iowa and its importance during the great run going back to Ralph Miller and into the 70s with Lute Olson, what he did, and the creation of the Hawkeye Network and the television games that were broadcast. Every game across the state, syndicated. And it didn't matter if you're a kid like me in Osage, or if you're in Sioux City, or you were in Bettendorf, all corners in between, you were going to be able to watch Iowa basketball. And this is before we all had cable. Satellite dishes, those were for rich people. It was a different era, but you knew you had Hawkeye hoops, and that's what it was. And here we are now today talking about a team back in the Elite Eight. 1987, the last time that we saw it happen. So how it unfolded, and boy, you talk about a group of guys that is all coming together, all clicking at the right moment, and some of the things that we've been begging for at different points throughout the course of this season. The hope that Alvaro Fulgaris was going to put it all together because he could see the skill set. Now Iowa 15-1 this season when he scores in double figures. Tate Sage, and we all saw those glimpses at different times this year. I remember the first time, going back to the summertime, and we had an open practice and hearing about that Tate Sage. I think he's going to play. Really? This kid from Oklahoma was not highly regarded coming out, Went to Drake. A lot of people even questioned, is the Missouri Valley too much for him? Absolutely not. The Big Ten's not too much for him, and this stage is not too big for him. Bennett Sturtz coming up with the big moments and finally getting Iowa over the hump as they finally take the lead in a game where they only lead for 2 minutes and 10 seconds. The good news is, though, it was the most important time to be leading as Iowa gets the victory, 77-71. A ton to break down today. We are going to get into all of it, set the scene for what we're going to see on Saturday. That will be a 5 p.m. tip-off, well, 5:09 to be specific. 5:09 tip-off on TBS for Iowa, Illinois. That will be the matchup as that one just went final a couple of moments ago. Wanted to wait and watch that whole game, wrap it up at another TV and rewatch the Iowa game as that was happening as well. Just couldn't turn away. And it also helped that the Arkansas-Arizona game got away a little bit. So we're able to flip over to the other TV to get to that one. But that aside, this is more than just the basketball part that we'll get into. But there's so much more. And seeing the Hawkeye faces in the crowd, from Cooper DeJean, Jordan Bohannon, seeing Greg Bruner there, and just seeing the sheer volume of Hawkeye fans in attendance, former players, and just people that you see. People that you see at Carver when you make your way out there, and the faces and the smiles, and to do it against Nebraska. This, regardless of what happened tonight, would have been an incredible season. To finally get the bugaboo, get past 1999, get that monkey off your back, that would have been enough. But to take this next step, to get to an Elite Eight, to do it against your conference rival, that overall in sports, I think matters more than any. As I mentioned a lot, it depends, I know, where you grow up, family connections, those kind of things. And because we have so many border states here in Iowa, that's important. And for our people over in the Quad Cities, well, I know this one in the Elite Eight against Illinois is going to be even bigger. But for the Western flank, we get it plenty in Central Iowa as well. It's Nebraska. And as this rivalry has built after they joined the Big Ten, then you throw in the fact you got Price Sanford, a guy that was a Hawkeye, an older brother that was a guy that laid it all on the line for the program. Price departed, had a great season this year, had a great game tonight. But it does feel a little bit sweeter to do it against a guy that Ben McCullum wanted, and he chose to go somewhere else. That feels good. It feels good to do it against Fred Hoiberg. He's a Cyclone. He grew up in Ames. That feels good too. Just so many great things. And we'll talk about the game. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's start to dive into what turned out to be a brutal start for Iowa basketball, trailing 12-2, then 14-4, then 16-6. And finally, Iowa was able to chip away. We'll get into the whole game, some of the big moments that happened there, and dive into the box scores. We'll go inside the numbers here on Locked On Hawkeyes. We are reliving an incredible 77-71 win over Nebraska as Iowa moves on for the Sweet 16 and down to the Elite Eight. Ben McCullum in year number 1 has already won 3 games in the NCAA tournament.
This episode is brought to you by Supply House. You wouldn't show up on game day without a plan, and you wouldn't show up to a job without the right parts. That's why putting Supply House in your starting lineup is always the right call. Here are the stats. 300,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products, 500 tried and true brands, and 90% of the country is in the 1 to 2 day delivery zone. Need a last-minute coupling, a compressor, a press tool? They've got it, and they'll get it to you quickly. They are clutch. If you're a pro in the trades, you can join the MVP of rewards programs and become a trade master. Pros get exclusive member-only pricing, priority shipping, industry-leading customer service, and it's all absolutely free. Visit supplyhouse.com/TM to learn more about becoming a trade master. Use promo code SH5College for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com, promo code SH5College. Supply House, real people, real service. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 College. Illinois' defense shut down Houston in Houston last night. The Cougars scored just 55 points on the game, and the Illini became the third Big Ten team of the day to advance to the Elite Eight. Sonny Verma recaps on Locked On Illini.
I don't think I've ever been so proud of being an Illini than I am right now. And I don't know the guy. He doesn't know I exist. But the job that this coaching staff and Brad Underwood for years, they've been calling out, screaming at him for his inability to make adjustments, that his teams were soft. And all week long, every single Houston Cougars account on Twitter or on YouTube, and all the national guys on YouTube were all talking about how, hey, Houston's going to punch you in the face. And that's the one big advantage that this Houston team's going to have over Illinois. And is Illinois going to be able to respond? Is Illinois going to be able to play their style of basketball in Houston against Houston? The answer was no. In fact, the answer was they out-Houstoned Houston today. Oh, by the way, I'm 2.5 minutes into the show. I probably should have mentioned Illinois with the 65-55 victory over the Houston Cougars. Ladies and gentlemen, Illinois is going to the Elite Eight. And there's a lot of apologies that are owed my way in the comment section, and I know I'm not going to get them, but I will bring it up regardless. This is these live post games. This is what I do it for, right? I go live after Wisconsin. I'm at the United Center. I drive home. I know everybody's going to be in a bad mood, and most people are like, leave the post game for the next day. I'm like, nope. This is just the thing I do. This is where we get to celebrate together on some occasions. Some occasions we do therapy sessions together. And it's all for moments like this, where collectively we all get to celebrate what I'm not joking when I say one of the most incredible performances by Illinois I've ever seen. And I'm not saying anything like in regards to the box score. Illinois scored 65 points today. Illinois scored, someone can probably tell me in the comment section how many times Illinois has scored more than 65 points and a half this year. But it's more so the way that the world was telling us, and I'm going to say us. I know some of you guys find that tacky. Whatever. It's my show. The way the world kept telling us that we were going to lose, that we wouldn't be able to step up in the moment, that we'd get intimidated by the crowd, that Houston is just too rough and tumble. Hey, Houston went to the national championship last year. Illinois is too soft. They lost 5 out of the last 9 in the at the end of the regular season. Oh, they only beat a 14 seed, an 11 seed coming into here. They haven't proven anything. What about now? How about now? In a matchup between two of the top, I think 6 teams in the country when it comes to KenPom, a defensive darling, the best defense in the country against the best offense in the country. What almost always happens? Defense wins, right? What about now? This is what it's all about. It's a few minutes before midnight, and this is a game where, quite honestly, sure, a lot of us wish they could have wrapped it up a few minutes early because Houston did make that run at the end of the game. And a lot of us probably got a little tense, got a little sweaty. My Talk Illini Discord, those guys know I'm on my 3rd shirt of the day watching that game. But it was all worth it. Because what couldn't have been done, or what we were told could not have been done, was done. And they didn't even do it in the Illinois way. This was not in any sort of way an Illinois game, except for in the fact that we didn't really foul Houston, which I know is going to piss them off. But you know what? If you watch the Locked On crossover with me and Parker, Locked On Cougs, I said, hey, Illinois is not going to foul you. You're going to be upset about it. And I'm sure that's going on all the social medias. But what I did not plan for and I don't know if any eternal optimist planned for, was that Illinois was going to be just as physical, if not more physical, than the Houston Cougars. We had now I'm looking at the points per possession. They rescued it by the end of the game, but offensively, this was not a good game for the Illini. I'll go over the box score in a little bit, but this was just an all-out team effort, and I have to give credit, and again, some of you need to as well, to Brad, to Cameron Crocker. They've spent 5-6 days on working on a game plan for this Houston Cougars team. And what's incredible to me is 2 minutes into this game, I watched this Houston Cougars defense. I'm like, oh, yeah, they're up for it today. They played as good a defense as a defensive team can play. And you saw it. Illinois wasn't making any shots in the first half because all the shots that they were shooting were contested. And yet, the reason I felt a little more optimistic about this game than I have in years past is because I see that, you know what? The way to beat this pressing style defense, this attacking defense that Houston has, is you keep moving the ball around. As long as you know who to throw it to, where the guy's going to come attack you, that you can beat this defense. And I can't believe it, but Illinois was so well prepared for that today. I mentioned it over and over again in our Talk Illini Disco, which, by the way, I can't keep saying. We're almost at the end of the season. We've got 3 more games left. There's no better place to be in the game day than the game day channel in there. Link is in the description. But every time Houston was harassing the Illini offense, the Illini players never really wavered. They knew, hey, this guy's coming. That means that pass is available. And over again, they executed and they made the right play. And we can give credit to the players for executing that. And we should, and we will. But we have to give credit. And even the biggest detractors have to give credit to the coaching staff to get these guys ready for that moment. This is not an above-average defense that they played today. This is arguably the best defense in the country they played today. And Illinois was ready for it. Sure, their shooting percentages, well, again, now I'm looking at the game. They ultimately end up at 43.1% shooting from the field and 39.1% from three-point range. So now the averages look good. But anyone who watched the game knows that it wasn't like that until maybe halfway through the second half. It was a grinded-out game. I mean, if all we saw was the game log of this game, but we didn't know which team was doing what, but we just saw the results of the whole awful shooting, the rebounding, the missed free throws, we would all have assumed Houston won this game because this was an ugly Houston game. But they didn't. Illinois did. Illinois was ready for them. And that it's an incredible feeling. I'm trying to think back, maybe that Iowa State game, but 2 years back to get us to the Elite Eight. But even then, I felt like that Illinois team was better. This one is such a contrast in size. And all week long, I'll say it again, I kept hearing about Calvin Sampson is going to completely outcoach Brad Underwood. Brad Underwood can't take care of business against teams that are better than him and coaches that are smarter than him. And he did.
That's all for today's Big 3 and 30 College. If you follow pro basketball or football, the Big 3 and 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NBA and NFL going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 and 30 NBA or the Big 3 and 30 NFL wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 and 30 College.